let me just share with you what we'll be doing. Bishop, thank you for bringing those greetings and thank you for praying for us. We do appreciate that. And so when we look at the agenda tonight, we will be covering several things. And before I do that, I want to introduce those that will be on the platform with me. In addition to Bishop Easterling, we have with us Mr. Bill Westbrook, who serves as our Director of Administrative Services and our Treasurer. We thank Ms. Carol Stevens for being with us as our ASL interpreter. And this evening, we also have, we're grateful that Doug Lanter is back with us. Doug, as you know, the conference has been praying for Doug. And so he will be providing technical support tonight. And Doug will be assisting us with our question and answers. So he'll be monitoring that for us. And so this evening, what we will do is we will give an overview of this year's annual conference. And we want to inform you about what you can expect. For those of you, we've had several inquiries about whether this session will be recorded. It will be recorded so that those that weren't able to come tonight may view it at a later date. And so I want to get to the logistics. As we look at the logistics, I want you to know that this year we will have GNTV providing a live stream as well as managing our voting for us. As you look at this slide, it tells you that in order to vote, you must be registered, and the registration closed on May 19th. You must be in person, although it will be live streamed, there will be no voting across the live stream. So you have to be in person to vote. And it's so good to be back. As Bishop mentioned, at the University of Maryland Eastern Shore, we haven't been there since 2018 and 2019. You'll recall that we were at the Chase Center. And so it is a blessing to be back. Yoo-hoo, at UMES. If you will go to the next slide, Doug. We mentioned that GNTV will be providing the voting for us, the voting services. They'll be managing that. And so to help us, we're going to get into more detail about this, but to help us vote at the clergy session and also at the plenary, they're going to provide a live training via Zoom. And so the sessions will be tomorrow, Friday, May 26th at 12 noon. And then on Tuesday, May 30th at 6:00 p.m. Those links are on the website. So we hope that you have taken an opportunity, you will take an opportunity to, excuse me, to join us so that, you know, there'll be less confusion about trainings. This is the first time we've had GNTV providing the service for us at the annual conference. The next slide, please. And so the theme Bishop mentioned this year, that the theme is, the scripture is coming from John 13:31-35, the NRS, the New Revised Standard Version, the updated edition. And it's before you now, and it reads, when he had gone out, Jesus said, now the Son of Man has been glorified, and God has been glorified in him. If God has been glorified in him, God will also glorify him in himself and will glorify him at once. Little children, I am with you only a little longer. You will look for me, and as I said to the Jews, so now I say to you, where I am going, you cannot come. I give you a new commandment, that you love one another, just as I have loved you. You also should love one another. By this, everyone will know that you are my disciples, if you have love for one another. And the next is our logo. So we want to thank, this is across the affiliation, our logo, and which shows our theme, all about love. So we are indeed thankful that we can work across the affiliation, we can collaborate. And so we thank God for the theme this year, all about love, from John 13:31-35. Next slide, Doug. And so I want to walk through the schedule, a couple things we need to know. So you see here the African American Summit. Now, before I talk about the annual conference schedule, I'd like to speak about the African American Summit schedule because I want you to realize that although it says African American Summit, that's what it's titled, everyone is invited. And so the registration is still open. And so if you want to attend, please, please, please go to the conference website, search African American Summit, and you can still register. And so on Tuesday night, the services will be at St. James UMC in Westover, Maryland. Registration opens at 6 o'clock. And the evening worship is at 7. And the preacher of the hour will be Reverend Ashley Jones Wayman. And so you may want to come out and hear Reverend Jones and worship with the African American during the African American Summit. Then on Wednesday night, the services move to UMES. The summit moves to UMES at the Student Service Center. At 9:30, there's the morning worship, as you can see, and the preacher will be Reverend D'Angelo Johnson. And then there are a number of workshops that happen between 10:30 until later in the day, and they begin at 10:30. One of them is trauma and mental health. There's exploring strategic planning and the future. Where do we go from here? The trauma and mental health will be conducted by our own Reverend Dr. Ronald Bell. The exploring strategic planning will be conducted by Mrs. Tanya Pritchett, and the future church will be led by Reverend Pearl Scott Johnson and Reverend Grant Johnson. And then at 7 o'clock, you see there's a communion service. The preacher is Reverend Gary Miller, and our own Bishop Eastling will preside over that communion. And so we praise God for the services that will go forth during the African American Summit. And then if we go, and then we'll get to the annual conference schedule. On Thursday, it begins on Thursday, June 8th, and start with 10 a.m. So we go back to what we did in 2018, 2019. We'll have concurrent clergy session and a laity session. And you see, we're going back to the places we were, the clergy session in the theater at the Student Service Center, and the laity session will be in the Heights Athletic Center, and it will be live streamed. And then at 2 o'clock, we move into our opening worship. And this will be live streamed as well. And our preacher will be our own Episcopal servant leader, Bishop Latrell Easterling. And then after the opening worship, we move into the Holy Conference. At 7 o'clock p.m., now this is new, it's different for this, but we did it last year. There'll be a celebration of the ministry. So we're excited about the things that God is doing in this annual conference. And so we come to praise God for those new CLMs that we have. We're going to celebrate the ordination anniversaries. The retirees, we're excited about them. And then each year, you know that you may not know, but Discipleship Ministries awards a One Matters Award to a church that's shown or made a difference in the community in terms of baptisms and profession of faith. And we're excited that we will have a representative from to present that One Matters Award to the recipient this year. I also want to mention that we have displays that will be there by our agencies, our commission, our boards, and our ministry partners. Those too will be in the Heights Center during the conference. So I want to invite you to take time to make sure you visit those displays. And we'll also have a prayer room set up again. So we are indeed excited about that. And then on Friday, so for the first time, we'll have Bishop Sudashanas Devadar presenting Bible study. And he's a retired bishop and from New England. So I know him, Bishop, he was Bishop's bishop. And so, we're excited that Bishop Devadar is gonna come and do our Bible study for us on Friday. Then we'll move into Holy Conferencing at 9 and 2. And then we'll hear the word, the preached word from someone I know can preach. I've heard him before. So Bishop Devadar will be our preacher for the commissioning service. Again, we're truly excited to have him. We're honored that he is taking the time to be with us during our annual conference. And then on Saturday, again, we come back, Bishop Devadar for Bible study part 2. So, get part 1, part 2. So come back and be with us and Bishop Devadar as he does the Bible study. And then we'll finish up any holy conferencing, anything that unfinished sacred work that we haven't completed. We'll finish that at 9 and then move right into the service of remembrance at 11. And the preacher for the hour will be Reverend Karen Bunnell, retired clergy. So we are so excited for this annual conference, and we look forward to celebration, and being in ministry with one another. Our conference appeals this year, we do Central Congo Partnership, that's standard, along with the Boom scholarships. And this year, Pacoma Spain Campus Scholarships will be the third appeal that we will use. Those links so that you can donate to these appeals are already up on the website. You will see that. So if you want to donate in advance or to give in advance, please feel free to do that. And I do know that churches have also been collecting the offering appeal to bring with them as they come to the conference this year. And for those of you that don't know, let me just tell you that the Pacoma Spain Camperships, the scholarships, they're to help kids whose parents may not be able to pay the entire cost. And so it allows the kids to come to the camp for $50. And so we want to be supportive of these appeals. And so now what I'd like to do, Bill and I will be introducing the business resolutions that will come before the annual conference this year. So I'll do the first, and then I'll turn over to Bill and let him do the rest of them. So you see here, resolution R1, which is our organizational and procedural motion. And what I highlighted here are the things that are different than what we normally have. And so Melissa Lauber, because Doug is not able to be with us in person, Melissa Lauber, who's the Director of Communications for Baltimore, Washington, she'll be the reporter for United Methodist Information and the Publications in the Press contact person for the religious and secular media. And then item J, the Delmarva Ushers Association will serve as the head ushers and doorkeepers of the sessions. And so we are excited to have them with us as well. And then for R1 and R2, R1 is our conference rules. R2 is the consent calendar, where we have the clergy and lay leadership report, conference committees reports, and other affiliated board reports, along with the conference treasurer's report. And R3, which is the resolution to set minimum salaries for calendar year 2024. It's presented by the Conference Commission on Equitable Compensation. And so please bear with me. I'm going to read this to you. So that's because I don't want to insert my own words, but I want you to hear exactly what the resolution says. And for those of you that will be following along, I'll be starting to read at line 10, and I'll read through line 27 of that resolution. And it says, after prayerful consideration and thoughtful examination of the available data, the Commission recommends a 8.7% increase for next year. This increase is based on the 8.7% cost of living increase recommended by the Social Security Administration for 2023. After reviewing multiple criteria, the Commission on Equitable Compensation has deemed the cost of living adjustment the best way to us to fairly set minimum salaries in future years. And then moving to line 17. We therefore ask that our community of the Peninsula-Delaware Annual Conference set minimum salaries at the following amounts for 2024. For full elder and full member deacon, $46,999. Provisional elder, provisional deacon, and associate member, $43,404. Full-time local pastor, $40,598. We also ask for the following minimum salaries to be increased by $200 per year of service since last conference membership ordination status change up to 20 years of service. And so that completes the resolutions that I'll be introducing, and now I'll turn to Bill to introduce additional business resolutions that will come before our annual conference this year.
Good evening. The resolutions I'll be presenting are ones that are consistent pretty much from year to year, except for one. The first one being resolution R4, the 2020, it's actually the 2024 covenant funding plan. We're recommending an apportionment of $4,962,400 $466. And then the apportionment formula, it's a similar formula as in the past, but we just bumped the years, the 3-year averages up by a year. So we will use the 2019, 2020, and 2021 net operating expenses as reported in your statistical reports each year. And then it will be capped at a 16% of the 2021 total operating expenses for that church that were reported. Resolution R5, this is a standard one coming from the Board of Pensions. The Internal Revenue Service recognizes the annual conference as the authorizing body to provide housing allowances for retirees and persons on disability. So the Board of Pensions recommends that up to 100% of a pension or disability payments received during 2024 be designated as a rental or housing allowance, and it would be up to the individual clergy to make sure that they have receipts to cover that full amount in order to take the 100% exclusion. So this is a standard resolution every year. The only thing that changes is the effective date, which will be January 1 of 2024.
That's still off for R5 though.
Yes, this is just additional language in that resolution talking about the rental housing allowance. Go to the next screen. I think we went backwards. Okay, here we go. Resolution R6, again, is a standard one. This is, again, from the Board of Pensions. And we have an old pension program called the Pre-1982, which is a defined benefit program that is calculated on years of service times the rate that's set each year. So in 2024, Board of Pensions are recommending a rate of $228 per year of service for the pre-82 pension program. That's a little over a 2% increase from the previous year, and it's in line with our goal to have the past service rate representative of 1% of the conference average compensation. So again, this will be effective January of 2024, and each person that has years of service prior to 1982 will receive the $728 per year of service. Okay, R7. This is a rather lengthy one, and this is one that we periodically provide to the annual conference. And this year, we find ourselves in a position where we do have to pass on rate increases to our local churches and participants. And we're also recommending changes to the plan to also help reduce the overall cost of the health insurance. In 2023 alone, we received a 12% increase, and we're expecting, as of January 1 of 2024, 11%. But if we take the action that's recommended here and change the plan design, we'll move that down to 7%. So it'll be about a 4% savings on the recommended changes to the plan. Right now, our rate stabilization reserve fund is set to help offset times where the billing outshadows or the billing is not enough to cover all of the premiums in a given year. And with a 12% increase in 2023, we're looking at utilizing $675,000 of that reserve. And it was a little over 1.5 million at the end of 2022. And if we make no changes at all and don't do any increases in billing, that number will jump to $813,000 for 2024. So by the time we reach the end of 2024, our rate stabilization reserve fund will be exhausted. And that just gives you the detail behind what I've just indicated as far as the rate stabilization reserve. So these are the recommended changes to our plan. We are recommending that the deductibles be increased from currently $1,600 to $2,000 on the individual, and currently $4,800 to $5,800 for the family coverage. Out-of-pocket maximums, that would mean that would be the total that an individual would pay towards deductibles and coinsurance. It would go from $2,600 to $3,500 for the individual, and from $6,800 to $7,800 for the family. The coinsurance is currently at 90%, and out of network is at 70%, and we're recommending that that be lowered to 85% and 60%. And that one of the offsets is that we will increase the amount of HRA or HSA that the conference puts in from $400 to $600 to help offset the some of the deductibles for the individual, and on the family plan from $2,000 to $2,300 for the family. So in addition to those the changes to the plan, we're also recommending changes in the billing. Unfortunately, in order to offset the last 2 years worth of increases in our premiums, we're looking at a 20% increase in the billing to the church. That would mean it would go to $22,464 for the full elder and $21,072 for our full-time and local pastors. Now these are blended rates. So we look at the total premium for both individual and family, and then we divide that by the number of eligible charges or charges that have eligible pastors in the plan to come up with these numbers. We have one more recommendation, and that is the pastor contribution. Instead of increasing by 20, we're asking that to increase by 10%. And the rationale for that is because we're increasing the amount that the participant or the clergy has to pay in terms of out-of-pocket and deductibles. So they are picking up additional costs by virtue of those plan design changes. One correction I need to note on this: the retiree spouse under 65 should actually read the same as the line that says $30,000 to $39999 or $70 and $125. That was calculated in error. And I think that ends the resolutions from the business side.
Thank you, Bill. I appreciate that. And so now, in preparation for voting at the clergy session and at our plenary, we're going to take a look at this pre-recorded video. It's on how to vote. And remember that tomorrow at noon, we'll have a Zoom training, a live Zoom training, as well as Tuesday at 6 o'clock. The links again are on the trainings. He will talk in this video. David talks about a voter ID. Let me tell you that when you check in and pick up your badges and get your package, you will get your unique ID at that time. And for those of you that aren't familiar, have never been, the registration will be on Wednesday, or check-in, I should say, will be on Wednesday, June 7th at 4 o'clock in the Heights Center. And then for everyone, that's Wednesday at 4 o'clock, just before the conference starts. And then on Thursday at 8 o'clock, it'll be in the Heights Center. It'll begin at 8 o'clock in the Heights Athletic Center for the laity, and in the Student Service Center, again at 8 o'clock on Thursday morning for clergy. And let me remind you that in the past, we've met virtually. And so materials were distributed electronically. We're going to continue that practice. So we're going to have limited number of printed copies. And so please, if you want a hard copy, if you want a paper copy, please make sure you print it out before you get to your MES. Otherwise, you'll see things electronically. And so, Doug, if you could play the video now on how to vote. If you have your, oh, and one other thing I need to know before we get started, and David mentions this in this video, is I want to remind you that you will need a Wi-Fi enabled device, which means a computer, a laptop, or a phone. And if you do not have one or have access to one, please let your district superintendent know so that we can be prepared to, we're trying to secure some devices so that those that don't have Wi-Fi capable devices will be able to vote as well. So let's take a look at the video on how to vote.
Hello, my name is David Wood, and I am here today to work with you about how to vote. This is a video and is not live, so it will work a little differently than a live voter training. If you are familiar with our system, or if you're not familiar with our system, there is enough detail here for you today to get through this process and be ready for annual conference. For voting, you will need to access your unique conference voting website. I will help you get there today. All the members of the annual conference who are registered and attending will be issued a unique voter ID for the custom annual conference voting website. Voter IDs will be shared with you for the GNTV voting system. Look for information from your conference on how you will receive your voter ID. Since you probably don't have your voter ID today, we're going to use a practice voter ID. First, I need you to get logged into that unique annual conference voting website. We suggest you consider using a cell phone or a tablet. A second device or portable device is the best way to access the voting website. You want to do this in a program like Safari, Chrome, Firefox, Internet Explorer, Microsoft Edge, and you want to type in the address for your conference voting platform. So the address for your conference voting website is pendel.gntvmedia.com. You will see that there on the screen in bold and underlined. That is pendel.gntvmedia.com. Type this into the address bar, not a search box. The address bar will get you taken directly to the voting website. So that voting website is pendel.gntvmedia.com. One last time, pendel.gntvmedia.com. The voting website is already ready for you to log in with a voter ID. Today, that practice voter ID is active for the voting website. That practice ID is 123456. That is a 6-digit number. And once again, that is 123456. Enter this number and click the blue submit button to log into the voting system. Once you've entered 123456 and clicked the blue submit button, you will be logged in and you will have access to the voting website. There are a couple of things to look for. First is the green load ballot button. Then your voter ID. Today you should be seeing the green load ballot button, your voter ID, practice ID that we are using, and then currently you're seeing a ballot. Normally, though, I want to stress that you will see a message that says no ballots currently available for your voting class. That is what it says when there is nothing to vote on. But today, since this is not live, you are seeing an actual ballot as soon as you log in. So, just so you see how it works, let's go ahead and click that green load ballot button. Clicking it when the bishop opens a ballot is how you are then able to load the current ballot and vote. So we wait for the bishop to open the ballot. When the ballot is opened, you go ahead and click the green load ballot button. And today you can make your choice, yes or no, do you love reading? And then you click the submit vote button. After you click the submit vote button, you are then going to look for a confirmation message, a little dark green box with the words beside it, "Thank you for your vote," will appear just below where you see the yes and no choices. If you have not submitted your vote, I encourage you to go ahead and make your choice and click the submit vote button. As a reminder, to work through this process, you go to the conference voting website, that is pendel.gntvmedia.com. You log in with the practice voter ID, that is 123456, and you will see the ballot is already open. Do you love reading? And you will answer that yes or no, and then you'll see the confirmation message thanking you for your vote. If this has not gone well for you, if you need help, please reach out to our tech support team. We are standing by to assist you with this work. Prior to the annual conference session, we are available during weekday business hours and return calls for people who leave voicemails or send us a text. That phone number is 478-245-4042. That number is available also during the annual conference session, but you will have tellers in addition to our remote tech support to assist you during annual conference. Once again, that number is 478-245-4042. Now that you have worked through a practice ballot, I just want to remind you that we follow the lead of the bishop. We will wait for the bishop to open the ballot. We will follow the bishop when the ballot is closed. You must vote in that window during the annual conference session. If you are at home and trying to vote or watch the live stream from a restaurant near conference, that will not work successfully. The system is dependent on you being in person, on site for this voting process. Once again, if you need help, please reach out to our tech support team and we'd be happy to call you back. Thank you for spending some time with us today in preparation for annual conference. Have a great day.
And we thank David and GNTV for providing this video training for us. Again, if you didn't get it this time, there will be time to practice tomorrow at noon. The link is on the website, and again Tuesday at 6:00 p.m. and go to the website. So if you didn't get it, you'll have time, and we'll practice again at the session. So we're going to make sure you get this before we move on. And so thank you, thank you, thank you. I want to thank everyone for being here. Thank you, Bishop. Thank you for your time and attention. If anyone has any questions, you can put it in the Q&A now.